Hello and welcome to the Week 4 edition of the Survivor Pod here, presented by thelines.com. Matt Brown, Stephen Andrus, and I'll just go ahead and play that right into the microphone there. I am Dunzo, Stephen is Dunzo, and we will continue to talk you through the handful of you that are still available out there in your various Survivor pools. Now, one thing I will say, Stephen, that makes me feel a little bit better about this, and this isn't even me kind of like grasping at straws and things and trying to, do something so I can sleep at night. It's a little bit better for me when I would have lost no matter what, and there was absolutely no winning no matter what. Because as we said on the pod last week, I did not consider the Cincinnati Bengals at all. I wanted them for later in the season when I felt like they were a better version of themselves. Who cares? They lost anyway. That was the same sentiment around the 49ers. They were never a consideration. I didn't want a banged up 49ers. Doesn't matter. They lost anyway. And then the Jets were never a consideration because I was going to use the Jets this week. It doesn't really matter if you don't make it to week 4 when you go to use the Jets. And so the only other teams I considered were the Browns and the Raiders, which I put 2 of my entries on the Browns and 1 of my entries on the Raiders. And here I am, absolutely dead.
Matt, I picked a team who didn't turn the ball over and didn't punt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they lost.
Yeah.
Because their defense didn't force a punt and didn't turn the ball over the first time that's happened in a game since 1940. The Bengals did me in.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to feel great or sick about it.
Well, and the thing is like, again, at the end of the day, it's like, you went to bat with a team that, 95% of the time wins a game that has a stat line and a script like that, right? And it's just like you caught the 5% of the time that they don't. And,
obviously what hurts the most, right, is, all of those teams lost before the Bengals lost.
Yeah.
So that's what hurts the most. But you know what? Dust ourselves off.
Yes.
If you got bounced, we have a $5,000 prize in a second chance Pro Football Survivor contest. It starts this week. It's in the description. Cost you nothing to join. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed. I'm still upset. I'm still depressed about it. But to hell with it. Let's go chase $5,000 for free. It's in the description.
If you guys don't follow me on the Twitter machine, which, by the way, why not? Why don't you? At Matt Brown M2. You missed this little nugget. So the Circus Survivor, which is the largest legal contest, out there, it is 14,226 people started. Entering Sunday, 3,874 remained. After the morning slate, 2,214 people remained. After that, heading into Sunday night, only 1,630 people remained. And then after Monday night, 642 remain out of 14,226. We are heading in to week number 4, Stephen, with 4.5% of the starting pool remaining in the contest. It's absolutely bananas. Absolutely bananas.
Yeah, I take back what I said before. What hurts the most to me is not that, the Bengals lost in the way they did without punting and turning the ball over. It's that if you survived this week, my God, you had the best possible scenario through 3 weeks that anybody has had that either of us can remember. Like, we've never seen this many people get knocked out so quickly. If you're in Circa, you may not even get to the holiday schedule.
Yeah.
If, you're in the $1 million pool, you may not even get to the weeks where you're required to take two picks a week. So that's to me what hurts the most for sure.
I just had to settle. I'm wearing my St. Andrews hat here, Stephen, just to remind me of better days this summer when I was golfing over in Scotland and all.
I need to change my hat on because I'm wearing a 76ers hat. We don't have better days.
I just had I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to feel good about life and put on my St. Andrews hat and just remember when I was over in Scotland golfing this summer and how great that was. And because the day you go out of Survivor is always the worst day of the year. It is the worst 10-1 parlay I will ever cash in my life, because I put in a money line parlay ticket on the Giants and the Panthers. It's the worst 10-1 I will ever cash in my life. If we look here in week number 4 as we move on, you talk about big favorites. The Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites over the Giants. As we scroll down, the Texans are 6.5 over the Jags. We scroll down a little bit further. Cincinnati 4.5 over the Panthers. We got the Jets as 7-point favorites over the Broncos. That was my target. That's where I was going to go this week. If you're wondering where I'm leaning, I kind of already tipped my hat there. 49ers are 10-point favorites over New England at home. The Chiefs are 8.5 over the Chargers on the road. And then if you want to get a little bit wacky, the Lions are 4-point favorites over the Seahawks, well, the Lions being at home. So, Steven, there are 3 pretty big favorites on the board this week. However, it becomes the whole thing that we were talking about last week. Tons of future value in the Chiefs. Lots of future value in the 49ers, and a better 49ers team down the line as what we've seen, as what you're going to put out on the field this week. It is a beaten and battered 49ers team. And then you have, of course, the Jets as 7-point home favorites over the Broncos, who at least showed signs of life this past week.
Yeah, typically you get to any given Survivor week, and the biggest favorites are going to be among the most popular here. You have 3 teams that, if you convert their money line to implied probability, they have winning expectation above 70%. That's the Chiefs, the Jets, and the 49ers this week. I suspect that the Chiefs don't have high popularity because of what you said, future value. If we look at the 49ers, they are probably going to be popular, but maybe not the most popular because of future value. You know, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who watched last week's show that my number one choice will be the Jets this week. I don't see much future value for them at all. I'm not scared from what Bo Nix showed us against a depleted Tampa Bay secondary a week ago. Just think back to what he looked like against good defenses the first 2 weeks of the season, which is what we have here, I think, with the New York Jets. So what's interesting to me, though, Matt, in terms of popularity among the top 3 favorites. Now, as we record Tuesday afternoon, the Pool Genius tools have not been updated. They usually get updated on Wednesdays. If you don't have a Pool Genius subscription and you are still in a Survivor contest, despite all of this carnage, I am begging you to at least go get the free 3-day trial down in the description, because you have big money on the line now, and these tools are amazing. They will help you plot out every single week the rest of the way, make sure you're not taking the most popular pick, help you understand which teams have the most future value. Like, just go at least try the 3-day trial to check it out. It's down in the description. So we don't have those popularity numbers yet from there, but I can at least share with you what the national free ESPN Survivor pool is telling me. And I am seeing 2% on the Chiefs, not much. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing the top 2 choices this week, the 49ers at number 2 at 21%. Matt, the Dallas Cowboys right now, and it's early in the week, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm seeing the Dallas Cowboys in the national ESPN Survivor pool at 36% this week. And let me tell you, I was already a little nervous about taking them. If they're going to be that popular, no chance in hell I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I mean, it's a Thursday game. It's a road Thursday game. There's like all kinds of reasons why you wouldn't want to play the Cowboys this week. Cowboys,
not to mention they've looked like crap.
Yeah, Cowboys didn't even cross my mind as far as like as far as a team to play this week, especially when you look at Dallas. I mean, at least if you did make it a little bit further, if you're really looking to target the Giants, I mean, they get the Giants at home later on in the season. So I mean, like if that's your target and you're going after them, I mean, why would you do it on the road on a Thursday night when you can get it at home, later on in the season? Again, that's just my opinion on that. Yeah, I mean, this is Jets like all day for me. Like Jets literally one, like if I had all 10 entries left in Survivor in Circa, I wouldn't split them up. This would be Jets 1,000%, no questions asked, because again, San Francisco is beaten and battered. You don't want to play them now. You want to play them later on.
They just lost to the Rams, people.
Yeah.
Like it's they could lose. It's possible.
Yes, they're beaten and they're battered. Cincinnati, I mean, do you really feel great about them going on the road to Carolina after what we just saw with Andy Dalton carving up the Raiders defense? I mean, I don't love that at all. And then your other big favorite on the board here, Steven, I mean, you're talking about the Houston Texans over the Jags, and I understand the Jags have looked like absolute crap, but it's not like they are devoid of talent. It's not like a lot of these teams where you look at, like we talked about picking on the Patriots, like the Patriots have no talent. So, I mean, like any given time that you want to play against the Patriots, whatever team you pick, at the very least, you can feel comfortable knowing that you're putting a team that has better, superior players just about at every single position that you're putting out there. Like, it's not like the Jags don't have any guys. I mean, like their receiving core is pretty good. I mean, it's like there's guys on the defense. I mean, I know they hadn't shown up or whatever. There are at least some dudes. I don't know. For me, it's a little scary. And plus, I don't know how many people even have the Texans available, because you probably, if you made it this far, used the Texans last week, right? And so, or I should say 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I should say 2 weeks ago at this point. So, like, you used the Texans 2 weeks ago. So I don't even know how popular they can be, because the path to getting here right now probably went through you using the Texans in week 2 for a lot of these people. So, again, I don't know even if they're a real option for most people.
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's the Jets with a bullet this week.
Yeah.
But in the event that you survived the carnage last week, there's probably a decent correlation that you used the Jets on Thursday night, because they were one of the few big favorites that actually survived last week. So we should spend the rest of the video just figuring out if not the Jets, then who. I'm a little more comfortable than with Houston. Just listen, they look like crap last week, obviously. I have a ton of respect for Brian Flores in that defense. He's confused quarterback after quarterback to start the year, it seems. It's not just that Jacksonville lost. They looked broken. And number one, Doug Peterson's not calling plays. That was a big red flag for me last year.
Yeah.
Number two, the way you should attack the Buffalo Bills, they did the complete opposite. The Bills have a very strong pass rush, and they have great cornerbacks. So you should be attacking the middle of the field where they had injuries and less talent at linebacker and safety. So they just didn't do that whatsoever. And then on defense, they have no deep threat, Buffalo. Like, they have replacement level guys at a lot of these receiving spots, and they're playing soft on these guys instead of playing tight coverage. So, like, I think Jacksonville's just totally messed up right now. I can't trust them to come out with an ideal game plan any given week. And now you're playing what is, a top 10 team in the NFL in the Houston Texans. So I think, given all the other choices that we have at our disposal this week, I have to at least consider the Texans for sure if I've already used
for sure. If your path wasn't Texans Jets, then yeah, I mean you pretty much have no choice. But I think to go the Texans this week, if you're actually playing to win, and you just have to assume that they show up this week at home against a Jacksonville team that apparently everybody is fighting. They're fighting in the locker room. The owner's pissed off, like everything that's going on there. So if that wasn't your path, then I think then that's your path. Let's say you don't have the Jets or the Texans available to you this week. Again, I'm still not burning the 49ers at their worst right now. I don't think it is. I don't think that is necessary. Steven, I would play the Lions against Seattle. And it's a deal where the Lions are at home. I don't know. I'm sure you have seen this, because like Seattle's been at least somewhat weirdly kind of like intriguing so far this year. They have had a Charmin soft start to this year, and they have not looked great even in those ridiculously soft games. I mean, Broncos at home in Bo Nix's first start in the NFL, the Patriots in week number 2, and then the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson / Tim Boyle. And none of those 3 games have they looked very crisp and very good at all. And so I think this road game at the Lions is kind of like a welcome back to earth here. And like, let's see what this Seattle team is actually really, truly made out of. And I think I would probably have to go the Lions this week if I was at least playing with a little bit of risk, right? I mean, I think the Falcons against the Bucks are also on the table, given the fact that this Bucks defense does not look like in a week that it's going to get healthy again. And we kind of saw what it looks like when it's not healthy, right? I mean, there's nothing Baker Mayfield can do. There's nothing's going on. Like, when you're hurt at every single level, it's just very, very hard to overcome in the defense. And the Falcons didn't win this past week, but they put up a valiant effort. And I think against a very depleted defense, they could probably have some success.
So for the people that are still in pools and not starting over, I mean, we're near the end game here already.
Right.
So in that context, I am now less concerned about saving teams than I would be normally, because it's happened so quickly now. So in that context, I'm not sure I want to play the Lions. Full disclosure, I've bet Seattle plus 4.5. I'll explain all the reasons why on the Monster Pod. But I just have a ton of respect for Mike McDonald, and Jared Goff still scares me a little bit with the way he started this season. So, but the thing is, Matt, I understand why you pinpointed them, because if you look at this odds board, I mean, we're looking at coin flip games all over the place, with the exception of the Cowboys, who scare us, with the Texans, who only scored 3 points last week, with, Carolina, who gets to play the Bengals. That's a 4.5 point spread, but their defense is still atrocious. You don't feel good about the Bengals after last week. So literally, other than the Jets, the Niners are banged up. They're a 10-point spread, but you want to save them for later. So really, that only leaves one team left in my mind if you take away all the games with spreads that are less than 3. And it's the Kansas City Chiefs, who get to play, at best, a severely hampered and in pain Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be on the bench this week, so it's probably Taylor Heineke. And they also lost both of their tackles. Now, the game is on the road, but they don't have a home field advantage, the Chargers. And this seems like a cakewalk to me. Like, if those guys are all out, wouldn't shock me in the least if this gets up to like 9.5 on the spread. So in the context of, you being in a pool where you can see the finish line very clearly at this point, I might go safe this week and just take the Chiefs if that high of a percentage is going to be on the Cowboys on Thursday. And here's the best part. The Cowboys play Thursday. So you can wait and see what the result of that is before deciding how risky or safe you want to play with the Sunday situation as well.
Yeah, it's a deal too, and this is only because you have to you have to take this into account. If you are in Circa, and if you honestly think this thing makes it to Christmas, which, given what's going on right now, you were probably saving the Chiefs to use on Christmas, right? Because the 3 Christmas Day slate games are the Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans, and Seahawks and Bears. For me, I use the Seahawks in week 1. A lot of people that advanced use the Seahawks in week 1, so that's not even going to be an option for you on Christmas Day. So it was kind of like you have to use the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Again, it might not make it to Christmas, so you might just say, you know what, I'll deal with that problem whenever it gets there. I just want to advance.
It might be you and one other person on Christmas, and then you can just play the opposite side.
Yeah, it's like, right? I just want to move on or something. So there is that. But I'm with you, Steve. So if you're in a pool that only had 200 people starting, so at this point you're literally probably down to 20 people, I'm not worried at all anymore about future value, right? Like if if there's only 20 people left, it's not going to make it another 6 or 7 weeks as it is anyway, right? So you're just trying to get to the next week, let everyone else be cute, and then you can move on. Now, if you're in Circa, I know a lot of people have been eliminated, but there's still 640 entries. It's still not easy. You still have a lot to get through. So you do have to kind of start thinking about those various things.
Yeah, I would not use the Chiefs if I was in Circa. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And so you kind of got to do that. And then you got to look at Thanksgiving as well. You could have Detroit against Chicago on Thanksgiving if you didn't want to use Detroit this week. We could also use the Cowboys against the Giants out on Thanksgiving Day as well. And hey, listen, it wasn't an option before, but if the Dolphins aren't going to have Tua, and listen, Steven, I'm not going to tell the guy how to live his life, right? But he's on the bench for at least the next 3 weeks of this anyway because he's on IR. If they start the season 1-6,
he's not coming back.
Why come back? Yeah, exactly. So why come back? So you could even use the Packers against the Dolphins on Thanksgiving because you're going to get whoever, Skylar Thompson, Tim Boyle. Yeah. They traded for Huntley. It could be Huntley, whatever. But I mean, you're not worried again about the Dolphins then at that point. So you might have more options there as well on Thanksgiving than you thought whenever the season started. So just kind of stuff to think about as you progress.
Yeah. Last thought for me before I give my top 3 for this week. Also remember that since we are only 3 weeks in and so many have been eliminated, that likely means you have the full catalog of powers in the NFL at your disposal. So again, this is for the non-circa people, but it probably means you haven't used the Chiefs, the Niners, the Bills, the Ravens, the Lions, maybe the Lions earlier, but the Bengals will probably get better as the year goes on. You probably haven't used the Eagles yet. So even if you use the Chiefs this week, you still have a ton of teams you haven't touched yet. So keep that in mind. Combine that with what Matt said about teams we thought were going to be good. It might be terrible at this point. So, we haven't even talked about the Cardinals-Commanders game, who we said last week might be an option coming into this week. I think, Matt, you and I would both agree we're not even going to think about the Cardinals at this point.
Can't roll the dice on that one. Yeah.
Can't do it.
No.
So the point is there's just Survivor has shifted and changed in a way that we haven't seen probably maybe ever.
Yeah.
And you have the full complement of the best teams in the NFL at your disposal in all likelihood at this point. So don't be as afraid to use one now as you were when the contest started.
I will also say this, if you're in a pool that it has gotten down to a handful of people, and if there's a decent amount of money up top, you can start hedging now. You actually can start hedging now, because if there is, several $1,000s up top, or even 5 figures or 6 figures, if you're in an even bigger pool and you're down to 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 people, whatever it might be, you can bet the money line on the opposite side of the team that you select. And at the very least, make your entry fee back plus a steak dinner as you move on. And the best case scenario for you is that you just lose every week. And if you lose every week, then that means you're going to win your survivor pool. So that's actually the best part about it, right? So again, if you've shrunk down to the point where there's only a handful of people left, you actually can start making money now on this and making sure that you don't come away empty-handed. So another thing to think about as well as we head into week number 4. And as you said, this is just unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this before. The fact that the top 4 selections this week across the industry, consensus across the industry, all 4 went down. Every single pool is decimated. There is not a pool out there that was too sharp that there is still a ton of people in it. It didn't happen. And so if you're still in it, one, kudos to you. Congrats to you. You should feel great about that. And I should feel like an idiot for not pulling I looked ahead too far. I wanted to play the Jets, but it was, I wanted to play the Jets this week. It was and I'm going to play the Jets this week. This was the perfect spot for the Jets for me. And instead, I'm on the sideline looking in.
Yeah. It's hindsight's 2020, right, man?
Yeah. So let's synopsis here.
Yeah.
If you made it through by somehow not using, and I know it's probably very unlikely, but if you made it through without using the Texans or the Jets so far, then either one of those would be the number 1 for me this week. So if somehow you made it through without using either one of those teams, likely you didn't. That seems kind of be the most popular path so far has been the use of the Texans, the use of the Jets, and then whoever you used in week 1. A lot of people use Seattle to get through in week 1, whatever. So that seems to be a pretty popular path. So you probably don't have those 2 available at this point. So if you don't, Steven, I think I might be coming around, and this is, again, not you can't say this for the Circa people, because you do have to keep in mind what you got to do down the line should this thing extend out to Thanksgiving. But if not, I think Kansas City is fine. I honestly think Kansas City's fine this week. If you do want to get a little dicey, and I didn't get your opinion on this, but I don't hate, and specifically if you have multiple entries, so I don't completely hate the thought of the Lions. I know you're saying that you have a bet in on I know you were saying that you have a bet in elsewhere, I don't hate it. I don't know. What am I missing?
Laporta's injured, low ankle sprain. So if he plays, he's less than 100%. They lost Davenport, the opposite D end of Hutchinson. Also, Frank Ragnow, their center, might not play this week. So that makes me nervous. Certainly agree with everything you said about huge step up in class to what Seattle's played at this point. but Mike McDonald also made the Lions look silly last year as defensive coordinator of the Ravens. So
no way Cincinnati on the road at Carolina? No way?
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. That defense looks hideous. So
they
could tell me they can't lose 33-30.
No. Right. I know. I'm with you. Like,
I'm looking at these contrarian games, trying to figure out like where I might want to go here. And, if you really, really, really want to get contrarian and Tim Boyle is starting for the Miami Dolphins, like it's Will Levis. I mean, that's really hard to do, but like it's still Tim Boyle. Yeah. So I could see just taking a shot against the Dolphins. People might gravitate to the Bears because they're now a 3-point favorite. I'm good, man. I'm good on the Bears. Yep. No, thank you.
Yep.
Don't want to go against the Vikings. Honestly, what about the Steelers? Like, you want to go full contrarian? What about the Steelers against the Colts and their terrible defense and their one-dimensional offense?
Yeah, I mean, it would be one of those. It'd be one of those to me where I think if I want to get cute with the Steelers, who I'm not completely in love with, I at least want to do it at home. So it's a deal. It's kind of like the same deal with the Bengals. Like, I don't think they're bad. They obviously can score points. I mean, they scored points on the Chiefs. They scored points on they just can't quit giving up points. I at least want the tiny bit. I understand they lost last night, whatever. Like, I at least want to have them at home. So like, I can't do the road thing there with that either. So
all right, then, you know what?
Yeah.
Niners then. Niners, number 2 on the list. Or the Chiefs. If you're in Circa and you don't want to play the Chiefs, then screw it, man. Like we just said, we're not afraid to use all these superpowers because it's been whittled down so much. If Kittle comes back this week or maybe Debo, if we get one of those guys back, as long as Trent Williams is healthy on the offensive line, you know what? If you go down with the Niners against the Patriots at home and they're more than a touchdown favorite, even if they're banged up, I could live with myself at that point.
Well, and listen, make no mistake, the Niners, 1, gave that game away this past week, and 2, like at least they were playing a team with a pulse. Like, I mean, you're still playing Matthew Stafford. I mean, like Matthew Stafford's a friggin' G. So
right.
You're not getting that in this Patriots team. So guys, it honestly at this point really depends on where you're at in your contest, who you've used so far. But if you can get away with using the Jets or the Texans, that would be my obvious first choice. Either one of those teams, if you could get those done. If you have to go elsewhere, if you're in a handful of people left, guys, Chiefs, Niners, whatever, I think those are perfectly fine. If there's still a decent amount of people left out there and you're trying to make a decision, I'm a little bit more comfortable than Steven is playing with the Lions at home in this one, but I can understand your hesitancy there in that one.
Yep, top 3 is very clear for me. The Jets, if you still have them. If you don't, then I'll go Chiefs. And if you're in Circa, then Niners would be number 3 for me, and figure it out later. Pretty clear 1, 2, 3 for me.
But guys, as Steven mentioned, you're probably out or only have 1 entry left or whatever it is. So like, we have a second chance. Go in. The link is in the description down below. So go ahead, enter that stuff, and maybe we can continue on with each other. I'll get in it. Steven will get it. We'll all get in it. We'll at least have something to talk about as we move on here. Appreciate all the support, guys. Everything we do, absolutely free. Upper right-hand corner of thelines.com is also the Discord where you can discuss all of the different options as the week progresses. Remember, we got a lot of nasty comments, Steven, in the comments section the last couple of weeks. We record this on a Tuesday. A lot of stuff happens between Tuesday and Sunday. So we're giving you the best overview that we can, but injuries pop up and situations change and all the different things. Quarterbacks get all kinds of stuff. So we're doing the best we can. All right. We're trying.
If you hate all the information, go get the free 3-day trial at Pool Genius. Yeah. It'll blow your mind, the tools they have for Survivor. It's awesome. So it just can't stop me from being a dope and picking the Bengals over the Jets.
Oh, boy. Well, until next year, when hopefully the prize pool is $17 million over Circa, and I'll just wait to win that one. See, and that's what it was. I don't want to win no $14 million. I'm waiting until the damn thing's $17 million. I mean, like, who can survive on $14 million? I got to have $17 million, So that's
inflation's a bitch.
Yeah, that's all it is for me. So I'm just waiting until next year when the prize pool's even bigger. For Steven, I'm Matt. Good luck on all your Week 4 Survivor picks.